fast. Fox News alert now. Ash Carter, U.S. Defense Secretary, about to tell us where we are in the battle against ISIS over there and perhaps here at home as well. Republican New Hampshire Senator Kelly Ayotte, member of that committee with me now. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
What's he going to say and what do you want to know?
Well, what I want to hear is what we didn't hear from the president on Sunday night. I'd like to hear what more are we going to do to ensure that we defeat ISIS. And I would like to focus in on the rules of engagement. What's our air campaign? Why isn't it stronger? How are we engaging on the ground? What are we going to do to make sure that in addition to what we have been doing, we need to do more? Because what we've seen is the strength of ISIS, both in Iraq and Syria, has allowed them to look strong, to have the territory that they have, and also then to inspire the attacks like we saw in San Bernardino. And we have to get them in Iraq and Syria and really defeat them so that way they cannot inspire people around the world to commit attacks here.
Excellent point. When you talk about rules of engagement, I'm reading the letter that was signed by, I think, 8 different Republican senators talking about removing barriers that inhibit our pilots. Does that deal directly with human shields and civilians being hidden by ISIS fighters?
So we always want to make sure that we reduce any civilian casualties. But the point is, I mean, why is it that just recently we're taking out the oil trucks? We really need to ensure that we allow our pilots to go after the targets to stop ISIS, both their financial support and any of the assets they have that are allowing them to thrive and keep their territory. But I also want to say this, I also think we would benefit, I want to understand from the Secretary of Defense today, why don't we have joint JTACs and forward air controllers embedded at the battalion level, because they can call in airstrikes and they can ensure that our airstrikes are precise, because many of our sorties are coming back without dropping bombs.
Well, listen, all that makes sense. Why is it not happening? I mean, just
well, that's a really good question, Bill. And that's what we need to hear from today. Again, you can't double down on a strategy that's not working. And, you know, unfortunately, we didn't hear anything new on Sunday night. I want to hear from our Secretary of Defense. What is happening? What are we going to do? And how are we going to make sure, first of all, that our men and women in uniform, they have the rules of engagement they need to defeat ISIS, and that we are doing all we can to make sure that we stop their momentum.
So twice you have mentioned the Oval Office address from Sunday evening. John McCain was on our program yesterday and talked about this national conversation that was needed to tell people what's going on and how and what we're doing to battle back. And that's part of what you're talking about today. Did the president miss a moment in that quote unquote national conversation on Sunday?
I think he did miss a moment, Bill, because, you know, I think there was unfortunately, a lot of lecturing in that speech, but not in, I think, what the American people wanted to hear as to the resolve to defeat ISIS, what are we going to do more? How is it that we're going to take what we're doing, enhance it, and make sure that we're bringing everyone together around the world under the same goal to defeat ISIS? And I think people wanted to hear much more strength and much more forcefulness and what we're going to do more than a strategy right now that clearly on its own is not working.
JV, contained.
Exactly.
Strategies
JV
working.
Contained.
No threat to our existence. How do all those statements look now, Senator?
I think all those statements show that our president clearly underestimated this threat. And for him to say that this is the JV team or contained, we can clearly say that ISIS is a very grave threat to our country. And we are at war with radical Islamist terrorists, and we have to defeat them. We have to defeat ISIS.
2 of his own former top defense officials said the same thing yesterday. Senator, thank you for your time. Kelly Ayotte from the Hill there. That hearing begins in 10 minutes. We will watch it.